Hey everybody, welcome back to Science for Everyone with Tom Copeland. I'm Tom Copeland. Let's get down to science. Okay, we are talking about two periodic trends of the periodic table. Now, it's important to note that we call them trends, not laws. A law would always be true. Trends are true most of the time. There are some exceptions, especially in the middle of the periodic table, but in general, these trends are true for most atoms, and they're pretty reliable. So there's a lot you can learn from the periodic table. You just have to understand what it's telling you. So let's talk about the first trend, energy levels. So all atoms have energy levels, and this first period or row is hydrogen, and it also has helium, though you can't see it. All atoms in the first period have one energy level. Then lithium in the second period has two. And then every period you drop down has an extra energy level. When we get to the last period of the periodic table, all of these atoms here have 7 energy levels. So this is a pretty easy trend to remember. Just start with 1, and each period or row has an extra energy level. This is just to show a little more detail for that trend. This would be hydrogen with 1 proton. It has 0 neutrons in its nucleus, and then it has 1 energy level. If you drop down to the second period, you have lithium, which has 2 energy levels. Now I skipped some of those atoms in between, but now we get to number 87, francium, and it has 7 energy levels. And francium is actually the largest atom on the periodic table, so that's kind of cool. Okay, so the next periodic trend we're going to talk about is atomic radius, or basically the size of the atoms as they go down or across the periodic table. So if we look on the left-hand side here, the trend as you go down a group is the atoms get bigger, and they get bigger because there's an extra energy level in every period. So again, hydrogen only has 1 energy level, but when we get to francium, there's 7 energy levels. So that should make sense. Now, if we look up here, the atomic radius actually gets smaller when you go left to right on the periodic table. And that may not make sense at first. If you look at lithium, it has 3 protons, 3 electrons. If you look at neon, it has 10 protons and 10 electrons. Most people would probably assume, okay, neon has to be bigger because it has more protons and electrons. But what actually happens, if we remember, lithium and neon are on the same period, so they have the same amount of energy levels. But since neon has more protons and electrons, they have a greater attractive force, and that attractive force makes neon just a little bit smaller than lithium overall. So here again is a depiction of that. As you can see, the atoms are significantly bigger on the left-hand side, and they get smaller as we go across because there's more protons and electrons and a greater attractive force. As you go down, you see that the atoms actually get bigger, and that's because of the energy levels. So I hope you now understand these two periodic trends. One is energy levels. It just goes straight from 1 to 7. And then we also just talked about the atomic radius trend. Until next time, keep on chemistry.